again I welcome all the students in our this lecture. And in this lecture we will just start the second chapter of the chemistry, that is called physical and chemical changes. So in this chapter actually in detail we will just discuss about few points, that is a physical and chemical change. What is physical change and what is chemical change? Chemical change, formation of a new product. This is the definition of the chemical change, and the differentiation between the physical and chemical change we are going to be study in this chapter. And then classification as the physical, and we can classify them with which is the physical change, what is the chemical change, right? And the types of changes involved when there is a change of state of matter. What are the types of changes are there when the state of matter will be changed? Sometimes the change will be can cause the matter also to change its matter from solid to liquid, like that. The type of changes involved when there is change of energy. What are the changes are there when it needs energy to be absorbed or released? So this the main things we will start or we will see in this chapter. So change, everybody know what is mean by the change. We feel something means before, if some things are there and when it is changing into some other thing, so we will say that is there is a change will happen into that. So change is an important feature also in the nature. When there is a change, sometimes it is very good for us, sometimes it is not good for us. So it's a very important feature of the nature. So every moment several changes takes place around us. We will say in the from day to evening, so many changes are happening. We are not observing carefully and we are not just thinking, but so many changes if you think there is happening in our surrounding. So what are the changes will happen? So these changes are exciting and generate us in the curiosity to know the reason behind of them. If we think about this, if we are just means observing the changes, so we are having the curiosity. Okay, these changes are happening. So what is the reason of this changing the means from one position to another position? So and what are the reason behind it? Some common changes which you observe in the nature, that is surrounding that are change of the day and night. Means in the we will see the day and it is sudden converting into the night, then again the day will come. So changes of the climate also, right? Rainfall, melting of ice, freezing of water, growth of the plant and animal, this is also one of the change, right? And the digestion of the food, right? Before we are eating, that is raw material. After that it is generating the energy and converting into the waste material. And burning of fuel, that is also a change. Ripening of fruit, cooking of rice, formation of curd from a milk, this is also a change. And rusting of iron, etc. And when we are keeping its open, or we are not just doing any kind of the painting or that, so it will also become the rust. So these all are the changes. Some are means fast moving changes, some are taking long time, and some are reversible, some are irreversible, some can be come back into their exact position after some time. Some will permanent change, some is temporary change. So many things are there which we will study in this chapter, and that is why we will start this changes. So but what happened to the substances when a change occurs in it? When some change are happening into some substances, so what are the reason, what is happening actually inside that? So let us try to understand with the help of a following example. So these are some examples we will see. With the help of this example we can better understand what will happen in this change, or which kind of change is there. So first of all we'll try to just understand this example. A raw mango is green but turns yellow on ripening, right? When we have seen the raw mango, it looks green and harder, and when it is ripened, it is just totally changed. It will change in the color, it will become soft, because when a fruit ripen, its color changes, right? So what is changes here? Its color is changed, its taste will be changed, and it is irreversible change. So this is, first of all we just understand there is so much difference between a raw mango and ripened mango. So the color, we can see visible changes color, we can test it, so test also change. And we can take the example of sapling, the new plant which is growing from a little plant to bigger plant, bigger tree. So sapling is a very small in a size, but it's become larger and larger with the time as they grow into a plant, right? When we see a small sapling, it is very dedicated and very small, and by after it's a long time it will take to grow. It is a slow process and permanent process, so it will become into the big plant, and its shape and size changes. When we see it's a very small, what afterwards it will become a big tree. So its shape and its size it's become very larger. Shape is also very different from before. So both the changes are there. The change in the shape or change in the size also happen. So thus when the plant grow, their shapes and sizes changes. These are the second example. And the third example we can take, the molten wax is soft, but it's become harder on cooling. When you just melt the wax, it's very soft. It can be take the shape of any container you can put it. But when it's becoming cold, it will very harder. It's not look very smooth as before. So this is also one of the change from molten wax to the normal wax. So raw, or we can take the example of raw rice, is harder, but after boiling it becomes soft. When we are cooking the food in the kitchen, we'll see the raw rice is very harder. We cannot eat directly. That is why we are cooking it, and after cooking it's become very soft and smooth. We can eat easily. So thus the hardness of the substance might also change when a change occurs, right? So many examples we can take, spices or raw material, rice. So these are, before it is very harder, and when we are doing a change, it's becoming change into the hardness also. After cooking it will become hard, it will become soft. So it might change when the change occurs. When the change occurs, the hardness will change into the softness, right? And we can take the example of the water into the ice. Before it is liquid form, when it is becoming ice, it is becoming in a solid form. So when kept into the freezer, it become, after some hours, it will take the hours and it will become a solid form of the ice. So that is also vice versa. If we are just releasing the heat, we are putting on a room temperature. So when we have some changes are there which can be change the hardness or softness of a material. So does the substances change its state when the change occurs, right? If you are taking about the example of water and ice, so it is totally changing the state when the change happen, because ice is different and water is different. So when we are doing the change in that, it is just totally change its state. It is just becoming from solid, and it's come into the liquid form. So also we can see the earth revolves around the sun. That is also one of the change. So sun such means the position of the earth, and with respect to the sun changes the continuously with time. Our earth is continuously moving around the sun, so we are continuously changing the position on the basis of the time. So that is also one of the change. So these are several kind of the changes. So from above the example, that it's very clear, when the changes takes place, the substances may change their color, shape, size, hardness and state, position, etc. So many changes are there. So this is very clear. Whenever the change will happen into some substances, it is depend on a substance, is depend on a change. So it can be change the color, can be change the shape, can be change some hardness to, means state can be changed, and size also can be changed till from the small plant to become a big plant or big tree, or the state of the position also can be changed. Like our earth is revolving continuously, we are changing the position around the sun. So many examples we can be see it come under the change, right? So now we will just discuss this. Thus we see that all or almost all the substances around us undergo the changes. If we carefully observe, almost substances which are present around us, they are going to be changed. They are going under several changes. But while some changes are easy to detect, some changes we can be easily detect. Now is day, then it will become into the night, so we can easily detect, right? And other are too small to be noticed. Means like we can see the rusting of iron, it is very small or very slow process, so it is not easily to detect. It is very slow process, you can say, and very small. Some plant growth, it is growing very slowly, so it is very hard to detect same time. But some changes are very fast, we can easily notice. Some these changes are useful to us, while some other are not useful. Some changes, that is desirable change, it's our desire that it should be happen like this. The rice should be cooked and becoming soft, that is our desire. The mango should be ripened into the means and then we can be eat it. So these are some changes that is desirable change, we need that. And some changes are undesirable, we don't want to happen that we are say we want to protect or we want to stop that change or slow down that change. So that are some desirable, some are non-desirable changes are there, and we always think and try to measure or ensure that the useful changes should be take place faster. Whatever the things we need to change, we are just applying several things to become faster that process. We want to make that process faster because that is a desirable change for us. And some non-desirable changes are there, we should want to stop that and they should really happen, and we want to just means at least we want to slow down the rate of change what is undesirable change for us. So that is on the basis of our need or desirable things. There are, we can also divide the changes into desirable and non-desirable changes, right? Then there is one activity that is for you, that is make a list of the objects which do not show any change in them with the time. Means there are, you have to write some changes, they are not showing any kind of the change in them with time, right? So it doesn't require the time, so we just write several changes like that. And we should remember that there is always a reason, right? And some cause behind every change. Like if something is changed, so it's not changing like this, but there is some reason behind it, there is some force behind that, there is some something happening to changing this from one state to another state, or from one change to another change. So that is mostly there is some cause are there behind. And since the most changes are different in the nature, we need to classify them and study them accordingly in the detail. Some are different in the state, some are different having different reasons, some are slow change, some are fast change. So to better understanding, we here we have to do the classification. Like always the classification is better for the understanding. So here also we can be classify the changes, and we can be classify changes into the physical change, chemical change, slow change, fast change, desirable change, undesirable change. So these are several categories. In them we can be just classify the change, or we can make the types of the changes. So what are the types we can be make? Types of changes. So there are different types of the changes based on how or on what basis, how it is happening, and what are the basis of the change which is happening into some example. So we try to interrupt them, and then we will, on the basis of that, we will try to interrupt. We will just want to slow down, sometimes we want to make it fast. So on the basis of which thing it is happening or how it is happening, we can be classify them. Number one, we can be classify like slow change and fast change. So this is number one classification we can be do for our changes, which are the slow changes, which are faster changes, which are taking so much time for changing from one position to another. And sometimes which changes are very faster, it's not taking so much time. Like if you are burning some paper, it will very fast process, and it will be coming into the ash before it was a paper or any cloth. Then we burn it, so very fast it will burn and it will just change into the ash. And some changes will take the time, like growing of plant, ripening of mango, so it will take the time. So on the basis of time required for the change, we can also classify them into the slow change and fast change. The changes that take longer time to complete are called the slow change. When time is required more, so it become a slow process. And these changes may take hours, days, months, even years to occur, right? They require time, but that is also different categories. Some changes will take time for only hours, in 1 or 2 hours it will be happen, or sometime it can be take a day, like from day to night. This is also one of the change, it will take some days. Some take months, and some are even years to occur. Some changes are there which will take the years to occur. So these are on the basis of slow and fast change also. We can be classify them into basis of the time required. Whatever the time they are required, we can be classify them into the different examples or different things. So we having some example. On the basis of that, we can be understand it will take the time, and on the basis of the time we have just divide. So number one example, a young man growing old, it takes a few years, right? You have seen some young mans in your around, So it will not in a second day or tomorrow it will become older. It will take years. It will take years and years for becoming a younger man to a older man. So that is also a change that is happening, and it will take a time. So it is you can say this is the slow change or slow process. And second example, you can take the evaporation of the water from a lake through the continuous that it will take the hours. Like the sunlight is there and water is continuously evaporating, and that will be cause of the rain or rain cycle is there. So that is why evaporation by the sun is it is also a time being period or change. It will takes hours, like in 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 4 hours. It is happening, so you can calculate by the hours. And then the germination of the seed takes days. Today we have sow a seed, so for the germination of the seed it is not happening into the 1 hour or in 1 day or 2 day. It will take several days. So that is also come under the change with the slow process. Its seeds takes days for germinating itself and becoming into a normal seedling. Then we can see the example formation of the fossil fuels from the dead plant and animals. It is very slow process. We have already seen in some other chapter that how the our fossil fuel have made before years and years. The animals and the plant, they will bury it into the soil, then it will having the earth temperatures are there, so it can be converted into the fossil fuel. So they take hundreds and thousands of the years to be formed. Like formation of means this fossil fuels like diesel, petrol, whatever we are saying, it's not a process of 1 day, 2 day, or 1 year or 2 year. It will take hundreds and thousands of years needed to convert the fossil means whatever the plant and animal, they will die, they will buried, and they will convert into the fossil fuel. So that is change can be go into the thousands and years. So these are some changes we are looking that will slow process, that will take the time and different times required for them. Then we'll see number fifth example, rusting of iron or tooth decay, then freezing of water, changes of the seasons are all are the slow changes, right? For the rusting of iron, already I have told you that example. If you are not covering the metals, we are not putting any covering like color or any other thing, so it will start rusting, or it will also effect on the qualities of that iron, it will damage. So that is also take several time. Tooth decay, it will also take the time. If you are not taking care of our tooth, it will not means having the cavity in 1 day or 2 day. It will take the time. That is also a time being. Freezing of water, it will take several time, some time to be becoming into the ice form. Changes of the season, we having India, we having special seasons are there. Summer are there, winter are there. So the changes in the seasons also, it will take the time. Normally 4 months we are having each season. So that is things which can be changes from one change to another change, and that will require the time. We have the example of a plant that is a green color, and then here you can see a tree. It's because before the small sapling is there, after years it will require to convert into the big tree. So that is also come under to the change that is required a time. So the changes that takes place in a very shorter intervals of the time is called the faster change. It is required a little bit time, so it will change into a shorter period of the time. It will go into the fast change in little bit time. It will be happen, that will go under the faster change. Before we whatever the example we have seen, that will go under the slow process, or because they need a time, they need some hours, they need time, some days and months. So what are the changes that will happen into a very shorter time, it will come under the fast change. So here is also some example we can be see one by one, that will make our idea clear about the fast processes or fast change. So when a piece of a paper or is lit is immediately catch a fire or changes into a black ash, and smoke released is lost into the air. So that is burning of something, burning of some paper or burning of some lid. So it will happen into a very small or shorter period of the time, and it is just converting into the ash, and some energy in the form of heat and light will be released. So it's not required 2 days or 3 days to burn one paper. In the very in some seconds it can be burned. So that is also come under the faster change. Example second, we can take bursting of an inflated balloon. When you burst the balloon, in a second or in a fraction of second it will burst and it will change one state to another state. Before it look like some bigger in the shape, and then it will just release after releasing the air. So that is a very shorter period of the time. That is also one of the change in the faster. Then we can also say the bursting of a cracker, it will also very faster change. In the fraction of second it will be burst, so it will also come in the faster. Lightning of an electric bulb, when you switch on, it is the very fast process that lightning to the electric bulb. Whenever or how this light will be reached to the bulb, it will just glow in a fraction of seconds. So that is also example of fast change. So these are some example of a fast change we have seen in this 3-4 example we have seen. That is a fast change, and before we have seen that is a slow change. Here in the example of this figure also showing the burning of mastic is a fast change. When you burn the mastic, and immediately it will be burned, and it will also come under to the faster change. Now there is one activity also to classify the following changes into the fast and change. That is activity for you. You can do in the homework. Just see carefully whatever the changes are mentioned here, and you just make a column like one is for fast change and one is for slow change. Number 1, you can be right, blinking of eyes. It will be a fast change or slow change. It is doesn't require more time. Sure, it will be going to the fast change. Changes of season, it will require so many days. So in which season, in which section it can be go, you just decide and write. Explosion of the crackers, rusting of iron, growing of a plant, a formation of a curd from milk. Okay, formation of a curd from milk, cutting of cloths when some want to stitch the cloth. So cutting of the cloths and cooking of rice. So these are some examples. You just divide into a means which is a faster change or which is a slow change. Okay, classify slow and fast change. So these points we have seen until here. Whatever the classification, how we can classify the things into slow change or fast change. This is actually the means some criteria. On the basis of this criteria, we are just dividing the things into several groups, or we can classify. And why there is a need of this classification? Because we can understand better. Right. Now we will again use a natural and man-made changes. We can have a different criteria to just classify the changes. We can also classify the changes on the basis whether it is a natural change or whether it is man-made change. Like burning of paper, that is we are doing that man-made, and sometimes the day and night it's coming one by one. Ripening of the mango, these are some go under the natural changes. So on the basis of this characteristics or this feature, we can also divide or we can also classify the changes into what are the natural change and what are the man-made. So some of the changes takes place in the nature by itself. We doesn't need to do anything. We are not doing anything to day become night and night become day. That are automatically they are happening, these things by nature. This is a natural change, and they are never ending. They will not end. Continuously they will do. So changes are called the natural changes, and the formation of a coal from a dead and decaying plant is a natural change. Like when the plant will be buried into the soil, it's becoming a coal. It will take definitely a time, but when we are just classifying into the natural or man-made, so it will go into the category of natural change. So many changes are there that is don't require our some contribution, or without doing anything it will just happening by nature. So that is called the natural change. Or the example of the natural change, there are so many examples we can take in our day-to-day life when we just observe our environment, our surrounding. So changes of the day and night, as I told you, changes of the season, earthquake, coming of earthquake, nobody can cause this. It is just natural process. It is coming naturally. And growth of all the living organism, growing of tree, growing of means animals. So whatever this growth is there, that is also the natural process. And eruption of volcanoes, that is also not in our hand. It is just happening naturally. So on the basis of this thing, we have just divide this example into the natural changes which is happening naturally. So that is called the natural process, natural changes. Some example we can see, that is example of man-made changes. Here the man have to do something to do the change in that the substances. So we can say the formation of steel from raw iron. This is happening into the factories. We are having the making factories where we can be just making steel from the raw iron. Raw iron we are bringing into the factories, and we are just doing such process. We are doing something on it. That is what is called the man-made. The making of kite for a piece of paper, right? From a piece of paper we are making the kite. That is also a change, because the normal paper will become a kite, but that is not natural. That is made man-made thing. We are doing that. And also we can see that preparation of chapatis from the wheat flour. That is in our house. We are our means your mother is doing this kind of the things. That is it is just making a chapati. So that is making of a chapati means preparation. This is also having different meanings when it is preparing. So preparation will be man-made. We have to do that. We are putting water into that in the flour. We are making a dough and then making a chapati. So that is doing by man. So that is why it is come under the category of man-made, right? So these are some changes which we can say that are the changes happening because of a human activity. We have to do that, then only it will happen, right? So on the basis of this, all the things we have just divided so many changes into so many categories. Next we can also divide the change. These all are, we are looking the examples how we can be divided and how we can be understand or how we can be classified, because the classification is better for understanding. Always we are doing the classification to understand better. So one thing we have already seen, that is on the basis of time, slow process or fast process. We have divided already. We have seen the example. Then we have divided on the basis of natural or man-made. What are the natural changes are there, what are the man-made changes are there. Then we will start with the periodic and non-periodic changes, right? Means the changes which is required a particular time to repeat it, that is called the periodic change. And the change which does not repeating in a particular time, it is called non-periodic change. So on the basis of this time being, or periodic and non-periodic, we can also divide changes into different categories. So the changes that are repeated at regular intervals of a time called a periodic change. It just repeating on a particular time, after 1 minute, after 1 hour, example. So the change is required, this repeating itself by a particular time period. So that will come under the category of periodic change, right? So all these changes occur after a fixed time period, right? Like we are having in a school, we are having one hours lecture, 60 minutes lecture we are having. So the bell is happening after a fixed time. So that is a change, we can say a periodic change. Or example we can take the periodic change, the change of the day and night. So it is repeating after a particular time. Change of a seasons, summer, winter and spring, that is also just repeating after 4 months. That is also having a fixed time period. We can say this how many months the summer season is there, how many months of the winter season is there. So it is changing, it's repeating itself after a particular time period. So that will come under the periodic change. Full moon and new moon nights, that will also a particular time period is there. After a particular time only it will happen. That is full moon and new moon nights, that is also come under the periodic change. So whatever the changes are there, that is they are repeating itself by after a particular time, that will come under the periodic change. Or development of a high tides and low tides in the sea at the time of daytime and night time, or they are having a fixed time period for the development of the high tide and low tides. So that is also come under the periodic change. So changes that are not repeated at regular intervals, that is called the irregular, or that occurs in an irregular time, that is called non-periodic. That we will see in our next lecture. But in this lecture, just understand whatever the periodic changes, so that are repeating themselves or itself by a particular time. After a particular time, it is called the periodic changes. And the change which is not repeating after a particular time, but it's a irregular time, it is doesn't we cannot know what after how much time it will going to repeat, that will come under the non-periodic change. So that will discuss in our next lecture. And just write down the important points, and this activity or whatever the homework question I have given you, write down in your notebooks. and see you in the next lecture. Bye.